interpreters are unmasked. And we're all looking out for each other. So thank you.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for coming back. So for everybody who didn't make it out yesterday, I'm Nick, and I'm going to be hanging out with Beverly here for a little while. Yesterday we spoke about some tattoo history, and Beverly actually works in this field, researching women and queer tattooers in the past. So we're here to talk about Beverly's work and any kind of questions or anything anybody might have.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Beverly Thompson, and I just wanted to pass out a little bit about my previous work also. I made a documentary called Covered a while ago. It's about heavily tattooed women tattoo artists. And I'll just pass it out like this. I also wrote a book called Covered in Ink about women and tattoos. So my work focused on women tattoo artists, but also heavily tattooed women collectors. And so today I'll be speaking later on today about my work, and I'll be showing some video clips from the documentary and some other work that I've done. And I just passed around a piece of paper also that lists some of my publications in the area of tattooing, so you can kind of get a sense of what I've done there before. I'm a sociology professor. I live in Albany, New York, upstate New York. And so I like to study so-called deviant subcultures. So tattooing isn't the only thing that I've researched. I've researched some other stuff and a lot of social activism and stuff along that kind of line, social justice orientation. But I'm a sociologist, I'm an ethnographer, so I interview people, and I like to bring a camera along and get some video and get some photos of people also, so that we see who we're talking about. So I'm an academic. I can also talk about, just in a nutshell, what kind of research has been done about tattooing in the past. And so, but I'm really looking forward to later on today hearing from you folks about just what kind of stuff you would like to read about, and especially thinking about queer tattoo artists, BIPOC tattoo artists. There's not a lot written about that kind of stuff. And so today I'll be asking for you all to sign up to be one of my interviewees and participants, so that I can really kind of collect these stories. I like to talk to real people and collect their real stories. And these, of course, are stories that we don't really have documented. And so thinking about just, working in the tattoo industry, or also being a heavily a collector of tattoos, and thinking about like what kind of tattoo artists you go to and stuff like that. So hopefully you're able to attend later today, but if not, definitely email me. Maybe my email address is on there. It's Bevyuen, Bevyuen. And of course, you can just contact me anytime today and sign up. So yeah, Nick and I just wanted to kind of talk to folks and welcome you to day 2, and talk about stuff like tattoo research and just the history and information that we know about, and how you gather that kind of history and collect this kind of documentation. And I'm an academic, so of course, like lots of academic tattoo research might be kind of offensive to tattoo artists, or it's stigmatizing or discriminatory as well. And there's bias that comes from that institution. So it's really great to just, be among tattoo artists.
Does anybody have any questions about what we talked about?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm curious about that very last statement you just made, and what some of those aspects you're thinking about.
Yeah. Historically, you know, the tattoo research say, I mean, it starts even 100 years ago and stuff like that. And it's associated with the early start of the criminal justice field, criminology. And so the earliest tattoo research talks about criminals tattoo themselves, and therefore you can certainly spot a criminal because they'll have tattoos. It's just that kind of very simplistic stuff that comes out of a criminology subfield that started to measure people's skulls and stuff and think that, you know, by the shape of someone's skull, you can tell if they're a criminal and stuff like that. So it's very like eugenics oriented history. And then there's the field of like the medical sciences are very discriminatory towards tattooing. You know, they say basically that you're mentally ill if you have tattoos, that women are sexual deviants, that, you know, there's just, yeah, you have mental illness if you're tattooing yourself. So a lot of the medical research really stigmatizes tattooed people. They also say things like, you know, it's dirty, you can catch diseases and stuff like that. Then I say in brackets, like no reported cases, you know, have been confirmed out of a shot, but it's possible. So they just like to also say like you can get sick from it, that you're a mentally ill person for getting tattoos. And then, yeah, so a lot of association with criminality, basically, like historically, and then through the 60s and 70s and stuff like that.
Right, like, wasn't there a big ban throughout New York State? And it was based in that medical disinformation.
Yeah, so it leads to policies like having bans in a state that outlaw and criminalize tattoo.
Do you know what year tattooing was finally legalized in New York?
Yeah,
It's pretty recent, right?
Yeah. And some other surrounding states, I forget which one specifically. Yeah, I'm also interested in just like tattoo policy and law and stuff like that. So for example, I'm really interested in looking at tattoos internationally. So like one fun fact is, you know, some of the best, some interesting tattoo work to me is coming out of Korea, right? But in South Korea, tattooing is criminalized. So you have to be a medical doctor in order to do a tattoo. But yet Korea has some of the best, some great work coming out of the place as well. And so there's a few countries that do continue to criminalize tattooing, or even just issues like in Europe right now, they're starting to like ban some colored inks and stuff like that because of the content. Inks here are probably not really regulated anyway, so we don't really know what's in the inks. Stuff like that can affect like tattoo policy and law, just like regulating your inks, licensing your practitioners and stuff like that. So that kind of stuff is interesting to me. I'm a sociologist, so I'm interested in institutional stuff, policy. A psychologist would be more interested in, you know, the individual. But a lot of the tattoo research more recently that's based on ethnography is based on people speaking to people. But they're so focused on like, I mean, first of all, the tattooed person is someone with one tattoo or more. I'm specifically interested in heavily tattooed people. But they talk about, you know, what image did you get and what's the meaning of that? And I'm sure to you all and like to me, that's super basic, you know, like what more? Like that's really not that interesting anymore. But a lot of the tattoo research, even now, is still stuck on that, you know, like what image did you get? And what does this starfish mean to you? To me, as a sociologist, I'm like, what does it mean to be a heavily tattooed body in society, to work in that industry? And you know, for your clients, like to be heavily tattooed and to work in their professions, like what impact does that have on their life? And that's something for tattoo artists to also know is like, and I'm sure folks, you know, warn people, you know, like about the repercussions of having a tattoo just in general, the attention you get not only from your employers, but strangers touching you on the street and stuff like that. So I have a chapter in my book about, you know, strangers approaching tattooed people and tattoo etiquette and just, you know, stuff like that. Tattoos in the workplace, policy that's oriented around that stuff, because tattooing, of course, is not a protected, you know, position in employment. Like you can be fired for that. And so And the law always lines up with the employer, you know, so we have to think about those things too.
I had a question, if that's okay. Is there a place online, websites where we can follow you, your postings of your articles of research?
Yeah, absolutely. And that paper going around too, you can get that, but my name is Beverly Yin Thompson, Y-U-E-N. Yeah, and then my
I do
web,
have the paper, I was just wondering if there's specific.
yeah, I have a
if there's-
website.
It's all posted in one location where we can follow you.
Yeah,
If you have Instagram, those kind of things.
on Instagram, I'm Snake Girl, Snake GRRL. I have a YouTube channel and my whole documentary's there. It's called Snake Girl Productions. That should be on the paper. And then, yeah, Googling my name, Beverly Yin Thompson, Y-U-E-N. That'll find you. And you can email me directly and I'll email you any of my articles. So I can definitely make any of my writings accessible. And then I have a lot of video on my YouTube. And if you just email me directly and say, hey, I want to do an interview, like then we're connected. But I'll be passing around a sheet later to sign folks up.
And your tag in the Queercation Instagram.
Yeah.
Yes, if you're following Queercation, everybody's there. Yeah.
Great, perfect.
Do you have questions?
Yeah, I guess I want to ask, I'm from a country where you can get incarcerated based on tattoos. So like you're like, you know, you have like Friday the 13th, like if you have a 13, you're already done. And I want to know like what you think are some, you know, historical events that made it so that it's easy for governments to do this to community members. Because, you know, it also is in our indigenous practices.
Right.
That's like, what happened that there's this shift and now
Yeah.
our families are incarcerated?
Yeah. Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, I don't know the details about that, but that's exactly where that kind of research leads to, is like criminalization of the tattoo artist, colonialization, you know, like of course, like the earliest tattoo research is like Captain Cook, you know, traveling around and encounters tattooed, you know, indigenous people. And then of course, they colonize those places, squash that, criminalize the practice, make it illegal. And then, yeah, you can have governments. Like I've definitely traveled around Latin America and talked to local folks who are like, yeah, you can't have tattoos like that here. The only people that have tattoos like that, you know, are tourists, you know, and so definitely other countries are very different contexts for tattooing. Just traveling around the world and encountering that, you know, it's really interesting to, you know, like you have to think about that too. If you're going to be traveling, like you're going to definitely receive a lot of anti-tattoo attention and even criminalization, or just you can't show that in, you know, Japan and bathhouses or what have you. So yeah, definitely those are really interesting issues, and I'd love to learn more about that kind of stuff.
Okay, anybody have any other questions or thoughts?
Will you be showing what are you doing for your academic panel? Are you showing it through video or?
And that's today at 3:30.
3:30?
Yeah, I'll have my panel at 3:30 today in the main room, right? And I'll show a clip from the movie. I'll show the first 15 minutes. The documentary itself is 60 minutes. It's fully on YouTube, so you can watch it yourself. Yeah. And so, yeah, those are, I got it on YouTube and Vimeo. So I'll show clips from that. I'll show clips from another project. I'll just talk a little bit about the context of my work, but I'd also love to just kind of have a dialogue and see like what you folks have to say and what interesting, like it's basically what kind of experiences that are more than you. Like it's like you start to collect these stories and it's like, oh, it's not just this one person, it's like everyone. And I of course am not a tattoo artist, so I don't know specifically, but just based on my previous work, I'm going to be guessing that what's really interesting as, you know, queer tattoo artists, BIPOC folks, is that just getting in, right, to the industry, to have an internship, to not be offended and harassed by the people that you're trying to work with, and how to have a safe entry into this profession. Tattoo artists don't have, an HR department or something to complain to, and it's just kind of expected that you're treated like crap, like that's like this hazing stuff that goes on in the industry. I mean, imagine if it was a corporate job and you have an HR, like it's just wild what is accepted in as tattoo behaviors in shops. And what do you folks think about how this kind of stuff can be addressed? Is it just kind of informal networking, or you find supportive people that can kind of bring you up, but then you find these people that you think are going to be supportive and they betray you, right? So it's just really kind of a difficult thing. Other industries have, HR, they have rules, they have licensure, like all these formal procedures. So the tattooing industry is just a different kind of situation. And, I'd love to hear from folks, like yourselves. In my book on women and tattoos, I never asked about sexuality, like this huge gap. And so now, I would love to really kind of fill that gap.
I'm really happy you're doing this research. I have tons to say about it, so I'm
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to you.
Another question. I was wondering if you've interviewed many Jewish people about the Jewish perspective on the Shoah. Our family is very Jewish, and at first they were very against me entering this industry. They were very upset by it. And so I haven't met any other Jewish tattoo artists or heard from them. And so I was wondering if you either researched or read about that.
Yeah, that's a great topic. I'm just, thinking off the top of my head, I definitely have, talked to Jewish tattoo collectors, but an artist particularly, that's a really interesting point. I'm not quite sure. But also Jewish folks, like I encountered them a lot, like in my activist circles, and those folks probably have lots of tattoos and stuff like that. But definitely, like every kind of culture has its stigma, like so Jewish culture, other religious groups, of course, like Asian culture and Latinx culture, every culture has its own particular stigmas against tattooing, but also we get our own cultural tattoos, and then somehow, because it's about our culture, our parents like it slightly more, right? Like it's our culture, it's our religion, like you're actually tattooing that religion or that culture on you, so that helps like the grandparents kind of accept it a bit more.
Thank you. Yeah, I looked for it a lot, but it seems pretty difficult to find.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm also a Jewish tattoo
Oh,
artist.
great.
Yes, please, that'd be great.
That's cool.
I'm also Jewish.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Like, you all need to come together and then like let me know, what you find about this particular group. That's really cool.
That's why my family.
We'll have a caucus. Very cool. Yeah, really interesting. Especially as an artist, not just you're doing that to yourself as a collector, but you're in the industry tattooing folks. That's interesting.
Well, it's amazing. It's great seeing people make these connections here. It's a big part of our motivation for wanting to make this event happen.
If you can just get 10 Jewish artists together, that's an article. Write an article about that. I can stretch it. Yeah, like a life story.
That sounds great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was wondering if you were familiar with the work of Lars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you spell the last name for the interviewer?
fact, so I bought his book, Tattooing Arts of Tribal Women. I don't know if you read it. I think it's a great read. I wish there was, more people like you and him like searching
Yeah.
like this topic, because when I read that book, it was really like enlightening, and it was exciting for me to see that there was even a chapter on Andean indigenous artists, because I am of Andean descent. My family is Peruvian, and they're raised Catholic, of course,
Yeah.
because of the Spanish colonization. How that I feel like a lot of that has to do with why tattooing has become so related to, it's just kind of like Puritan values and all
Yeah.
those things mixing in and making tattoos. It's just really kind of, it's racist, really.
Yeah.
It's just not like tattoos or something like. That's just kind of how it feels for me, because it comes so strongly from an indigenous,
Yeah.
like, it's like a rite of passage. It's very spiritual.
Yeah.
It's very healing. And the book just goes so much into how indigenous women, in particular, they kind of take leading role in like giving this person a sense of empowerment,
Yeah.
and it's like liberation work in a way.
Definitely.
So
Yeah, and I think, works at a anthropology museum, has written quite a few books. I met him, I did attend this amazing tattoo conference in Germany. They were able to fly and pay for all of us to come out, like 25 people around the world to come together, and he was one of them. So and we published a book together, so everyone has a chapter in that book. But yeah, of course, indigenous historical tattooing, that's a huge strand of tattoo work, and there's a lot of work on that, but probably certain cultures are focused more than others, but lots of like global kind of indigenous history tattooing books are out there as well. But yeah, he's a great one for that kind of information.
what's the name of the book? It's no, the one that you just mentioned.
Or I mean, this our author, I'm just saying in general, there's lots of books on this topic. Yeah, and he's written quite a few books. But then there's just a whole genre of books on global tattooing culture. But certain cultures might be kind of like Pacific Island and Maori and stuff like that is really lots of information, but probably less on other. But there's a lot of information out there on that in general, like global history stuff.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I guess we're about wrapped up, unless anybody has any more questions for Beverly or possibly me.
Looking forward to your seminar.
Yeah, so if you can't make it today, because I know there's other stuff, just drop me an email, find me online, and I can set up a Zoom to capture your story as well. Cool. Yay! Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. Next, we'll have a few with their morning announcements and what'll be going on today.
Okay, so this is followed by the Tattooers Wellness Panel. The rest of the schedule update, there's going to be snacks at 1:15 to 2:15 in that main room. If you signed up for Joelle Mejia's How to Market Yourself and Increase Clientele, that's 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. in the Kiva room. And that's after the wellness panel. Or you can check out the inkjet demo on main stage, followed by Bev's academic research panel at 3:30. And Tattoo Now's Lasting Blueprint for a Tattoo Career at 4:30. Also at 4:30, there's a really fun workshop you can sign up for with two on fashion design, and it's $50. It's going to be a lot of fun, and they're going to have a fashion show for us tonight too. It's going to be cool.
And there's judges apparently.
Oh, there's judges,
We're
yeah.
the judges.
Oh, yeah. Cedar and Sue are judges, I believe. After the Who workshop, or Tattoo House talk, you should register for Toby Linwood's Drawn on Freehand Gap Filling Large and Small Scale Tattoos at 6:30 in the Keeper Room. He's incredible. I'd totally take, hopefully I can get to that one. Yeah, that's all I have today. Thanks for coming. Stay tuned for the wellness panel. Oh, yeah, there's some slight confusion about the wellness panel. Right here. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All the work stuff. Yeah. Oh, one more thing real quick. Hey guys. Hey, what's up? Hey y'all. Hey, can I tell you one thing? What's that? All right, well, Toby's isn't gonna be in that main seminar room. We're actually gonna move that to the main room. Just so you know. But they're right beside each other. You'll figure it out. Okay, bye. Oh, great. Wellness panel is Cedar, Leslie, right?
Yeah, Leslie
And Teresa. Welcome to wellness panel.
Leslie.
So just so y'all know.
Hi. Hello, welcome to the wellness panel. Yeah. There's chairs right there. Or you can come around in front too and grab one of these chairs if you want.
Someone can sit here.
Awesome. So the first thing about the wellness panel is that everybody up here has not slept. We feel great because we're very excited, and this is a great, I've been looking forward to this, and now very sleepy, but this is Teresa Ellis, and Teresa is a certified wellness coach and has been doing Pilates, and you all doing the Pilates in the morning here.
Killing it.
Killing it.
Getting us all aligned.
Yeah. And then, I think Cedar. So between me and Cedar, we have over 50 years of tattooing between us.
I've been getting tattoos since I was 19. Okay, I'm just silly. This just came into my head. So when I say wow, you say yes. Wow. Wow. Okay, good. Just to break up the energy and stuff. Wellness doesn't have to be all drony and like sad and be like, I'm not taking care of myself. This is gonna, they're gonna shame me for not eating broccoli. It's not gonna happen. Right. So as a fitness professional, my name is Teresa. I teach the Pilates in the morning. Shout out to all my people who took Pilates this morning. Yeah, last day's tomorrow, 8 a.m. if you're awake, because I know that you all don't have your first appointments till noon. So don't be mad if you don't show up, okay? And don't be upset if you're late, just come, okay? So wellness. So I guess my first question to you is, what's wellness to you? What does it mean to you? Exactly. Yeah, it's been shoved down our throats. Like, you need to be this, you need to do this, you need to do that. So my thing is, whatever brings you peace is your wellness, right? So whatever brings you peace. And so wellness is a blanket term under a big umbrella, but it means a lot of things. Like, how do you become less stressed? It's not just by meditating. You need to make money. If you have money, you're not stressed, right? So it's like a whole global thing. So I think we're going to talk about that a little bit, in addition to the wellness of like how to be wellness, right? So yes, all right. So that's me. My thing is do exercise, but also just laugh a lot. I love puns. If you have one, tell me.
Hi. Yeah, we have a lot of things to say here. So take care of yourself. Yeah, I'm ready to just like dig deeper on this. As a tattoo artist for so long, working, I've struggled tremendously with this. Every day I wake up and I'm like, how the hell am I going to take care of myself? It's like a daily practice. I don't really think it's something you nail and then you're forever good on it. You have to continually wake up and make the decisions. And as a tattoo artist, we're always so hunchy and focused. We can forget to do all the important things, drink water, eat well, stop staring at things and close your eyes for a second, stretch, take walks, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about that. That's what I'm really looking forward to, hearing what you have to say about it, hearing questions you have for us, because we're a wealth of knowledge, and yeah, looking forward to learning from both of you as well. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of cautionary tales involved. But yeah, if you have questions too, I mean, I don't know if there's specific things that you want to address. Teresa and Cedar have encouraged me to tell a little bit about my story. So I'm going to bring that up, and maybe people want to talk about that, or, you know, you have other questions. But
Yeah. So just real quick for me, like, I'm also a solo practitioner. Like, I own my own Pilates studio. I teach Pilates online. Like, it's just me only. So I really resonate with all that you all are doing in terms of like you just being your own person, your own boss, doing that. Like, that is me too. So we are on the same lines of the same business practices. So yeah, so I just wanted to share that with you. It's like, we on the same team, yo. All right, cool.
I mean, definitely with tattooing and forward-facing service practices, you know, hairdressers, masseuses, you know, we're putting our hands on people, fitness instructors. It's really intimate. Sometimes you're one-on-one. Sometimes with tattooing, you're one-on-one all day long. And you have heard about all of their exes, and you have heard about their family of origin, and, you know, their cat that's sick. And so it can be a lot to hold, and you want people to be able to feel comfortable. But yeah, we might get it a little bit into reiterating the Cedar's boundaries discussion that Cedar got into last night. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about boundary setting.
Can we just ask a question? Like, do you set boundaries with your clients?
Yeah.
Like, do you set boundaries? How do you set boundaries? Like, what are you doing to make sure that like people aren't like sucking you dry? So can you answer that, please?
Or what's one boundary? We've got one boundary you set.
Yeah.
With a
I have
client,
one.
yeah, thanks.
I always email my clients beforehand, like 1 or 2 days beforehand, before our first session, and I inform them that I'm deaf and that I can't speak to you while working because I need to keep my eyes on the work. So I'm, if you want to bring your own entertainment such as headphones or an iPad to watch a movie, I also have an app that I download with me, keep with me to communicate. So I just inform them of that, and that's one of my boundaries.
Nice, awesome boundary.
Excellent.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Yep.
So anytime I start the actual appointment with somebody, like I think as soon as I start placing the sense on them, I don't really talk about what I want or need, which I should probably start doing. But anyway, when it comes to the client, I'm like, I do like little gentle reminders throughout the session where I'm like, hey, like it's okay if the stencil isn't where you want it. Like you have to do this 5 times. I don't mind. Like, please just tell me. It's gonna be on you forever. Take your time. Don't rush. Doesn't matter. And then when I start, I always ask if they're ready for the needle to enter or like, skin time. And then I always remind them like, please tell me if you need a break. Please tell me if you want to stretch. Please tell me if you want to go to the bathroom. Like, it's just constant little things that I say to them throughout the session. I'm happy that I do it because I can definitely like just notice their body language. Like when they start feeling tense, that's when I'll remind them like, hey, like, tell me. And then we'll be like, oh, well, actually, I need to pee really bad. And I'm like, it's okay, like, you can tell me. So some people are like less vocal and some people are more vocal. But I think that's really.
So you've been making space for people in the session.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's really great. And
Do you do those things also for yourself when your client is stretching and going to the bathroom and snacking, and you also do those
I
things?
do try to, it is partly like, it works both ways. It's like, they go to the bathroom, like, okay, now I have time to stretch. Or I have now I have time to drink water or something. Cause I'm kind of like, I think it might be like my ADHD. I just like hyperfixate. And when I get in the zone, I tend to like I forget all those things about me, which is something I'm working on. But if they go to the bathroom, like, okay, it's a breath stretch.
Awesome. Yeah.
I do something similar and also similar to what Beck said, which is like a lot of communication before the appointment to kind of set expectations for folks to make like a really clear, like, here's how it's going to go. I see that as being like establishing boundaries both ways because it tells them like, here's how I'd like you to comport yourself in the shop and like, here's what's okay and here's the channels for like getting the stuff you need. So that I don't have to say like, please don't touch me without saying something first, or like, don't act inappropriate because I'm already saying like, here's the ways that you are allowed to act. And I kind of like you were saying, I find that like when I show them like, here's all the ways that you can retain your agency. Like you tell me when your body needs a break or your brain needs a break, you need X, Y, or Z thing, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Like I might stop the session because my body is jacked and I need to just like stand up and stretch for a minute. That shows them like we're both taking what we need. That's
Right.
Like, okay.
You're leading by example.
Yeah. There you go.
Awesome. Anyone else? How about on this side of the room? Any boundaries that you create for clients, for yourself? In the back.
I've just been thinking about this, listening to everybody else, and the big one is like what to do when someone's moving. Because sometimes it's as simple as saying, I don't know if you realize this, but you're moving a lot. Or like, I need you to not talk with your hands while I'm tattooing you. But it's tricky because some of it you would think would go without saying. And like, I think a lot of the times if the boundary is broken, it's like something you wouldn't even think to say. Which would be like, hey, could you maybe not just immediately like dump your trauma I'm not sure how to approach that one.
Dumping trauma or moving in a session?
Go without saying. I feel like for a lot of people, that's like it's hard to start to build a boundary when the first thing you want to say is like, I feel like maybe you would know better to do this.
Right.
I can speak to that and then I can pass the mic. I said in my seminar, and I can say here, that if I'm feeling like I need to stop talking, I will just tell my client, like kind of from the get-go, hey, I'm gonna have moments of needing to be quiet possibly, and I'll let you know when that happens. Kind of sets you up to have a boundary whenever you want around talking. In terms of moving, same thing. Hey, I'm gonna really want you to not move at all. That's like your main job here. So if you start moving, then I will let you know. And so they know that you're gonna be holding court around their behavior, you know.
I've had several people, you know, reveal very traumatic events to me, just throughout my life, especially with tattooing. You're just in that kind of, a lot of times people will continue to come to you because they feel safe with you, and that you know part of their story, so that can like update you or whatever. But I recently had somebody that I was tattooing who had a lot of scars, and I was covering up the scars, and I was like, wow, you know, in my head, like, these are really unusual. But I didn't ask about it because, you know, it's their body and they'll let me know. And we were having a conversation about riding a bike, and she mentioned that once she messed up her shoulder, or her shoulder got messed up, she couldn't really ride a bike anymore. And I was like, oh, did you have an accident? And she was like, no, when I was raped, I tore my shoulder complete out of the socket. And the one that I was working on, and it was like, okay. And you know, in the past, I would have felt some sort of like urge to address this and to like talk to her about it, or just, I don't know, make it better, or like make it bigger, or focus on it, right? And I took a beat because I've learned, you know, to take a couple seconds before I react. and I just said, that's really, really awful. I am so sorry that you went through that. And I'm really happy you're still here and you survived. And she was just like, thank you. And we were quiet for 45 minutes. And it was so powerful. And I was like, oh man, you know, 27 years of tattooing, and I've really struggled with like how to, you know, hold people, you know, who are in pain, who tell you about, oh, I'm getting this tattoo for my baby who died or something. So there's some really intense times where I've had to, you know, try and hold space, but not take it on, you know, not hold it myself, but just like, okay, well, you know, it's safe to say those things, and I'm going to try not to solve this, right?
When I have clients, because with my work as a Pilates teacher, people are always trying to anticipate my movements, right? My instructions. And I'm sure with your clients, they're trying to like hold themselves steady for you and all the things. So I have to stop and say, I need you to let me be the top here. Like, I'm the top. I won't tell anyone that you just need to let me be the top. All right. I promise I won't tell anyone. It's just between you and me. They laugh. We have a moment. I'm like, I need you to let me do my job. I got you. I'm going to hold you. I got you in this space. And it kind of relaxes them. We have a little giggle. And then I can do my job effortlessly. And they're like, oh, I can relax with this person. Because, you know, tattooing, it hurts. As a tattoo receiver and not a tattooer, it's like, I'm always excited to get it. And then that needle goes in the first time. I'm like, shit. fuck, oh God, this is a mistake. But then I just have to like go through it and like talk myself into the relaxation mode because I know like Leslie tattoos a lot. And I just have to be like, okay, like I know she's got me. And so I have to let her be the top. Damn it. So it's just more about like, not just releasing, but we all know that bottoms like, you know, rule, right? So don't think that, you know, you can, you know, bottoms got all the control. You just have to let your top do the toppy things. Yeah. So just tell them and you just let them just handle this. All right. And so for me, that's really important. Is there anything else? I mean, I would like to move on a little bit. Is there anything else that anyone would like to address? Yes, Jeff.
I just want to mention a book for anyone who's curious more about trauma-informed tattooing. There's this great queer tattooer in New York. Their name is Tamara Santibáñez. I don't know if anyone knows them, but they have a great book on all of that, boundary, how to work through those like situations. It's called Could This Be Magic? Tattooing as Liberation. And there's a free PDF online. You could buy it for $80. You could read it for free. It's up to you.
And what is it called again?
Could this be magic?
Could this be magic?
Tattooing is liberation.
Tattooing is liberational. By
Tamara. Tamara.
Tamara
Santibáñez.
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 Thank you. That sounds amazing. And for me, as a when I teach, I always ask people if they have any injuries, any access needs that they need before we start the sessions, just because I need to know when I'm working, like what bodies am I working with today? You know, so you can also ask that. It helps a lot. Because they may be like, I have a small bladder, I need to pee every 20 minutes. Like, great. So you'll know like how you can like, you know, structure your tattoo session with that.
Awesome, let's move on.
Let's move on. Okay. So movement, real quick. We're just going to touch on movement real quick, and then we're going to get into some other things. Do you take care of your own bodies while you're creating these beautiful pieces on these other people? What are you doing to take care of yourself? It could be, I take a walk 15 minutes every day. That's awesome. Like, it doesn't need to be like, I go to the gym, I get 20,000-hour massages. Like, what is there one thing that you do for yourself with your body, and not just eating well and drinking the water, but what are you doing movement wise to like protect your body as you create this beautiful art on other people? Yes.
I mean, I go on what I call stupid mental health walk, and I force myself to go on stupid mental health walk every day. And it turns out I'm much better at processing things afterwards.
Nice. How long do you walk on these stupid walks?
I try to do like an hour, but sometimes 2 hours if you're feeling fancy.
Oh, damn. I was gonna be like an hour, sometimes 10 minutes with that. That's amazing. Awesome. Anyone else? Yeah.
One particular stretch I do anytime I take a break with the client, which I learned from a physical therapist.
Yeah, what's that stretch?
I'm gonna show you.
Yes, come and show us. Come to the front.
It's for doing I don't know what the muscle is, maybe you do, but it's like kind of in there. That's like the bottom is tight when you are doing this kind of stuff. And you cross.
Oh, that's a good one.
You go up.
Oh, yeah.
And you should feel it right here.
Yeah, that's your oblique. It's an oblique and a QL stretch. That's really nice.
You do it for like 30 to 40 seconds. Anytime you're standing up or anything, like I'm like way less crunchy.
Nice. Thank you so much. Excellent. That leg cross. So when you cross the leg on front, is it the same arm that crosses the?
Yeah, you go in the direction of the leg.
Okay, so if your left leg is in front, your left arm is up, and vice versa. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Yes, in the back.
Yoga.
Yoga. Josh does yoga. How often do you do the yoga, Josh?
Well, I shoot for every day, but it usually ends up being like 4-ish times a week.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
I
I
do
like
it
that.
too.
Oh, nice. And that speed adjustment thing is rad. I love that. If you only do something once a week, yes. If you do something once a week for 10 minutes, yes. Like it's a start. So don't have these big old goals of like, oh, I'm gonna do like 4 days a week. And then you're like, I failed because I only did 10 minutes once 3 months ago. Just start with the 10 minutes and then just do a little bit. Bex, did you have something?
Oh, yeah, I lift weights, but I'm kind of weird. I don't use barbells. I use sledgehammers. Because it is a full body workout. And I pretend that I'm just like shuffling, like digging in the ground, and it forces me to engage my entire mind, all my muscles. And it sounds crazy, but I swear it works.
Nice. So get
And
yourself
outside.
a sledgehammer.
It has to be outside.
Yes, a sledgehammer and use it like a shovel. That's fantastic.
Really, any kind of movement that you do that's using your full body and moving is helpful.
Can you, stand up and demonstrate for those that can't see your sledgehammer?
Okay.
Is there a sword here?
So I do different things. I do like pretend I'm shoveling or sledgehammering. But you do have to be really careful. You got cats. You know, you can wrap their head up.
Thank you, Bex. So real quick before we move on from the movement, like I just want you all to realize that your spines are so important. So you all are hunched over the pupils. The one thing, if you do one thing, expand your chest, open your heart, open it. So like what we've been doing in class, yesterday and today, is we were laying over these balls to open the chest. So you need to expand the chest. So try to think of your collarbone, right? That it's smiling. Or if you need another visual, imagine my face tattooed on your chest. Don't give me wrinkles. Okay. So just like, just sit up tall. So I'm going to show you how to just sit up tall first. So if you're sitting, so everyone just plant your feet real quick and just sit up tall. And I want you to think of your pelvis as, you know how you think of a balloon? And if you're standing, I got you here too. So if you're sitting, your feet are firmly planted on the ground and your pelvis is your anchor. If you're standing, your feet are your anchor and your spine all the way up is the string. And your head is either the balloon or above your head is the balloon. So find ease in that. You're not in big military posture. You just have a nice lifted spine. If you lift and hold this, everything else will go into position. Your muscles will engage exactly the way they're supposed to. Okay. When you're tattooing, I'm not saying go and do this now because you have already created beautiful habits that to be readjusted. Try to hinge forward instead of round forward, right? Try to keep your spine open just a little bit. Even if you only do it for 1 minute, do it for a minute. Be like, this sucks, and then round again. But always try to remind yourself, this is how you change habits. It just take a moment just to not collapse. So be fierce always, right? Yes.
Do you know if there's any difference between like a satin style stool or just a flat stool for encouraging?
Whatever feels best. If you want to ride. I'm not mad at that. I know that if my feet are a little bit wider, I'm not a tattooer, but I have long legs. And so I need to always sit with my feet open. I don't wear dresses. So I don't know. Like as a tattooer, like what seating style? Do you sit with your legs crossed? Do you sit with your heels up and throwing my coffee? Like what do you do? How do you sit?
I have something. It seems like common sense, but my mentors always told me safety of the client's seat. That's a way that benefits me, making sure they're safe also benefits me. So not just the seating, but how the client is laying or sitting as well. So I try whatever I'm working on, have it be facing up.
Yes. Excellent.
Moving the whole body to make sure that is facing up.
Nice. Do you all agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I know that you can't, I know that they make these hydraulic tables that you can make a standing desk or whatever. I like to think of your, I like to think of your table as your desk, right? But like, you can't afford that, but what can you do? Like, really think about it. If you need to have people come over, your friends, and be like, can we just like, if they're hanging out, like have a moment so I can see how I can manage how to do this work real quick. And if they're a really good friend, they're gonna say yes. And if you live in the Bay Area for the next 9 days, yeah, so yeah.
Having whatever furniture you're using be as adjustable as it possibly can be is enormous. I use a saddle stool also. That helps a lot. But having a client chair that is extremely adjustable, not just in height, but in like configuration, has been like the #1 thing that's improved my like body pain when I'm working, because it means that I can put them wherever I need them to be so that I can be in that spine position that you're talking about. So I don't have to hunch myself down.
Yeah, your posture, people, if you're jacked, you can't help people for very long. You can't create your beautiful art for very long. Like, it's not gonna happen. And so also one thing that we're talking about this week in our classes is moving from the actual muscle, the bigger muscle, instead of like moving like this and tattooing like this. I just learned about spreader hand this morning. I had no idea. And so like how to like move from your shoulder blade and move the whole entire arm versus just moving from your wrist, because the muscle is bigger here than in your wrist, right? So we're not trying to get carpal tunnel. We got time for that. Right? We got things to do and people. Sorry. Sorry. So you want to be able to move from your whole entire like, you know, person. And so how can you, like, this is a thing that it's going to be a practice to change this habit. Like, how can you like lean in? Like massage therapists, they tell massage therapists when you're massaging to like move in with your whole entire body. Can you do that when you're tattooing? I don't know. Only you can tell me that, because I don't tattoo, right? And so like when you're trying, like, you know, trying something, tattooing a grapefruit, I don't know, like see if you can like move in that way. Because if you can, you're protecting yourself and still creating beautiful art. So it's just all about a practice.
Cool. Well, you go ahead and then I have to.
Okay. I don't know what to say about this, but I have experienced pretty intense lower back pain in my career. And sometimes not even be able to leave the bed for a couple days in so much pain, which is, back pain is just so invisible and awful. And important, if you're tattooing and your back goes out, you're super fucked. And you know, one of the things that I was doing, which I spoke about, I think in my seminar, was I was not turning my whole body towards my station. I was only turning my upper body. So instead of turning the whole thing to mix my ink or wash my needle or even just put grease up on the towel, I was doing this and it was completely fucking me. So that took a lot of practice and no one told me anything about that. And so I have since been working out my core to make that better. And I am not able to sit for long periods of time. So for me, I have to stand, sit, change things up a lot so that my body isn't in one position all the time. And I do, yeah, I have to really always remember like what Teresa is saying about not hunching over all the time. But oftentimes if my client is lying down, which is pretty much every client, I am bent over in some way. So stretching and doing something the opposite way has been helpful for me.
And make sure your tattoo chair, no matter what it is, the one that you're using, swivels and move your whole body all at once. And, you know, even better, you can try and experiment with like a smaller setup tray so you can get it closer to you, something on wheels. That's really helped. I found that like there's something called a microphone tray that can go like on your, if you have a tray and you need more space, then you can put a little microphone tray that the musician would have like you know, they're gonna play a guitar solo or whatever, you know. But you can get them at any music store, and it's like this nice metal tray, and it screws on to any supporting bars. Since I've been tattooing for so long, there's been such a huge change too in the machines and the power packs that has been so amazing. You know, we used to have these thick 1-inch metal tubes, and then these machines with copper coils that were made of like iron and brass. And, you know, the brass, you felt really fancy. But, you know, they really, like, I can't hardly use them anymore. You know, I lost a lot of strength, and I got one of those pens, and I was like, what is this? This is magic. Like, you know, and it has the little power pack just that you put on. It's completely and utterly wireless. And that has also helped too, because you're not like, you don't have your clip cord that you're trying to avoid and like go under and everything. And I highly recommend getting a setup where you don't have a foot pedal, because I still have pain in my hip from having my foot just hovering over the foot pedal all the time, like, you know, like this. And it's such a small movement, but just that hovering thing of just anticipating, like, you know, I mean, I still have all this lower back pain for doing that for years, repetitively, just like, you know, it's just it's wired into your brain. And I try and switch feet, and I try to do it differently. And then I got, you know, equipment that I don't need a foot pedal. And now I have equipment, I don't need a clip cord. That has really helped in a lot of ways. And maybe you all are already there. So great.
So with that comes like,
I have a
it's
question,
gonna,
I apologize, just a real quick question. Then what do you use now instead of a foot pedal?
Yeah, there's power packs that are kind of small, and you just turn them on, plug them in and turn them on. They have a battery in them, and so you plug them in to charge them, and then you unplug them when you tattoo, and you put your clip cord into it, and then you can't control it going on and off all the time. When you take a break, you have to reach over and clip the switch. But even better, just recently I bought a bishop with a critical attachment. It's very expensive, but you know, it will pay itself back pretty shortly, hopefully, right? And that is,
Sorry, bishop with a what attached?
critical. Yeah, that's the brand. I'm sure maybe there's other brands, but that's just recently what I got. So there's no cord, it's totally wireless. Yeah.
I wanted to add, I also agree that like having a cordless setup makes a huge difference in terms of like body pain and sustainability. For anybody that like doesn't have that setup yet or is curious about it, there are much cheaper options that are just battery operated. So they come with your own batteries and a battery charger. And they have, the machine itself has like on and off and like power up and down buttons on it that are really low profile. They're not like super duper high quality, but they are a very low price point, and that makes it really easy to like buy one to try it out and see how it goes. Bishop I've heard is really good, but I don't quite at that point yet.
It's an investment.
Yeah.
But it's always worth it to invest in your body, because yeah, you can't replace it.
you're gonna be doing this for a while. I mean, I don't think you're just doing this on a whim, are you? Like, this is like this is taking you to the grave, yeah? Like, if it's taking you to the grave, take the time. Like, you know, like I spent $10,000 to teach Pilates. And my equipment is expensive. So $10,000 just to learn. And then I had to buy shit. But I make sure my people are safe, right? And so it's a thing. It's like, you're gonna get the money back. Because if you can take care of yourself, you'll be able to buy the things, you'll be able to pay yourself back. And because when you feel better in your body, you can do other things. No one just wants to tattoo and go home and collapse. You want to tattoo and go hang out with your friends. You want to tattoo and have a life. Right? And so this is what wellness is being able to do what you love and have a life. Yeah.
Damn, see, you defined it. You asked it and you just answered your own question. You had a question a while ago. Do you still want to ask?
I think I was just wanting to add a little bit earlier, we were discussing different stretches I've been working. Recently, I've been learning about the benefit of mobilizing your scapula, your shoulders. And I think, for sure, I find myself in not big positions, but also tend to hold a lot of tension up here when I'm working. I don't know if anyone else feels that when they're drawing or tattooing, but just like really focusing at the end of the day, even if I'm not the greatest during the session, like afterwards, really mobilizing my shoulders as much as possible and doing a lot of like, through yoga classes or even just stretches.
Arm bone, shoulder blade, ribs, y'all who took Pilates this morning. Arm bone, shoulder blade, rib. That's the move right there. So yeah, it's an arm bone, shoulder blade move. It's a rotation. So everyone take your arm out, right? Put your shoulder in the socket. So palm faces, so if your right palm is out, it faces to the left. If your left palm is out, facing the right. And you're just gonna take the arm bone out of the socket. You're gonna reach the shoulder blade forward. Then you're gonna reach the rib cage forward. You'll have a little rotation. And then you're gonna pull it back, rib cage, shoulder blade, arm bone. So it's an arm bone, shoulder blade, rib, rib, shoulder blade, arm bone. All right, so you're just reaching out and in. You can do this sitting, you can do this laying in bed when you wake up in the morning. Right, so you have that little rotation, right? So you just pull it in and out. So this is basically what Mia's saying, is you just move and you're mobilizing the scapula, because that's the main move that you're using for your tattooing. And so you want to move from there. Crunchy. It's crunchy, right?
No, it's important.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Mia. So that's what we do, and that's what we did this morning, right? So for those of you that did it this morning, like, did that help? Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah.
So I have a question for all of you on the panel. Have you heard of a thing called the hammer claw? Because my mentor has one, and because they can't hold a machine longer than 4 hours, and I've never heard of it before, and I've been searching online and I can't find any more information on it, but has anybody else heard of the hammer
This person's heard of it. Come on down.
I've just started it with older tattooers and like peers of our mentor who use very heavy oils for a very long time. It's just like nerves and muscles can kind of get stuck. Yeah.
Do you know where to get one?
Oh, no. Is it like an effect to your muscles?
Oh. So it's Jackie. You're like, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Got
Does
it.
that make sense?
Yes.
Can you explain what that looks like for your mentor?
Well, her hands looks normal to me. It seems fine, but she says that after 4 hours of tattooing, she just has to stop.
Yeah.
Because it's just something to do with her grip. She loses her grip.
So that's it's like repetitive strain.
Yeah.
Like carpal tunnel in your hands, like all that nervy stuff. Yeah, thank you, honey.
I've heard that rubber bands around the fingers doing this help to mitigate that.
Yeah. Sure. Anything that's going to strengthen your hands is good. Anything that's going to strengthen your hands.
There's a lot of those kind of things for musicians too,
Right.
like all those.
Right. And don't squeeze in all the time, press out, like what Mia's saying, like if you take that's a really great idea. Take a rubber band and push out. What? You turn to a dance move.
Yeah. And it sounds silly, but if you go to like a climbing store for like people who do mountain climbing and all that, they have these like stupid little things that you press a little button all the time. And it actually helps you from like not getting carpal tunnel. I was surprised. Like, all right.
Yeah, move your fingers.
Guitar players. Yeah.
Air guitar, you know, like make it fun.
Did you just say wired butthole?
It's like also when you do finger massaging rings that are like weird mesh, it's like a ring, but it like squeezes your finger, so you like roll it over your finger and it like massages it.
Wow, so rock climbing and tattooing are hand things. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, carpal tunnel is coming for us. I mean, I just feel like we need to do all the fingery things.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's start with the rubber band thing. That seems like cheap. Everyone gets broccoli. You know, some kind of vegetable. That sounds great.
Yeah, in the back.
Also, these like rings that like that provide support to your joints. My hands are double jointed in most of my fingers, and the rings hold your fingers in the correct direction, basically. And they're stainless steel or like the silver approximate. And because they hold your fingers in the right direction, even if you don't have trouble with them, like literally bending their own way, they provide a level of support. And they're sanitizable because they're like solid metal. So you can wear them under gloves and things.
Do you have those on you?
I don't.
Do you know what they're called specifically? Is there a name?
Yeah. Yeah.
They basically look like two rings at a 45-degree angle that have been welded together at once.
Oh, I've seen those.
And they
Cool.
And have you used them to tattoo?
a couple of times, not regularly, but yeah.
So
Yeah, in the back, there's a couple of people raise their hands. Okay. Oh, yeah. Hi.
I have fibromyalgia and
Mhm.
like handling body pain is like a huge part of my practice. I don't touch ceremonies without it like
Yeah.
and that's the issue. So I found if you look up places or if you've ever done physical therapy or you know those are the one. I have one that is for like extending all my fingers out. I have these that are for grip. I have this like twisty bar that's for my forearm. I have like a spiky mat that I lay on every
Cool.
I have like a whole stretching routine that I do, not just the days that I have to, but like every single day. It's not just about doing these things and feel the pain, it's about doing them regularly, or at least for me, with a disabled body, it's about doing these things regularly so that build up the strength and build up the muscles even in gentle ways and build up these specific movements that then will like allow you to have longevity.
Great.
I love
Thank you for
that.
sharing that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Websites and tools, look those up.
That's where you can get those things.
Had, regular baths, all that.
Ooh, Epsom salt.
Mhm.
All that.
Yeah,
Ah,
that's true.
I support that.
Should we take some more comments or how are we doing on time?
I have no idea. What time is it? Oh,
Okay. Leslie, I really wanted there to be a little bit of time for you to share something.
I don't know if there's time.
I mean, I think there's always time.
Yeah, just try right now.
Would you like to hear a cool story? There's always time.
There's a little time for Leslie. Here we go.
Wait, let me just look at schedule.
You all are amazing.
Yeah.
And so the person that's sitting on the floor that just spoke, what's your name? Luna. So just like what Luna says, like consistency is key. And so if you just start, even if it's once a week, I always tell my clients or people who are thinking about starting to do movement, just start once and then build from there because it's always easier to build. You all know, like, you know, it's better to start small with your tattoo and build it than you can't make it small once it's on the skin, right? So start small and then build from there with your routine, make it a practice. So if you're only doing once a week for like 15 minutes, awesome. Because then your body will be like, oh, I only do that on Friday, but it's Wednesday and I want to do it now. You do it Wednesday and Friday, right? And then you'll do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then you'll end up doing it every day, like Luna. So just, it's all about just building and having the consistency to do it and not feel shame for not doing it. Because if you miss it, it's okay. Don't shame yourself. We have enough bullshit going on in the world to like beat ourselves up.
And Teresa teaches online and has people from all over take her classes online. And it's definitely something that has helped me so much because, especially during the pandemic where it was like, is it even safe to go outside? Oh, I can lay on my own floor, flop around and have my dog think that I'm playing some kind of silly game.
Leslie's dog lays on her during Pilates, gets on her back, helps her with her feet when she goes. It's hilarious. It's fun to watch.
Was there any other questions over on that side? I feel like I can't see everybody.
No, we're ready for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Recommendation for a checking tool. I recently started using, it's called a chirp wheel. It's like a hollow ring that's foam padded on the sides, and it has a groove in the center of the ring that cradles your spine. And you put it on the ground, you lay on it on your back, and kind of like roll your body up and down it, and it like cracks your whole spine, and it feels so good. It's addicting. But it's really
It's
good
like a
for-
yoga wheel, but it's called something else.
What's it called? Chirp. CHIRP. Chirp wheel.
Oh, chirp.
Yeah, the burpee. Mine met it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for those of you that came to the Pilates, that's your ball. You can do that with your ball behind your back. So thanks for sharing that. That's so cool.
I googled those rings. There's literally just like rings for double jointed fingers. Your insurance will cover them if you have like I have EDS and like all of my joints are fucked, and your insurance will cover them. Sometimes if you can get an appointment with a doctor or physical therapist who says like, yes, this would help you. Like some insurance does that, but otherwise they're really cheap on like Etsy or the other internet.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
I don't want to like derail the discussion. I just kind of wanted to mention one thing that I consider to be self-care is like self-defense training of some kind.
Right.
I think like everybody has different comfort levels around that, but I would encourage anybody to engage in something along those lines.
That's real.
Right.
And I'm happy to talk more about it if anybody wants to.
Yeah, and you're Josh? Is that Josh? Yeah. I can see half your masked face. I'm like, is that Josh? And that's, yeah, there's so many different ways of being self-defensive. It's not just like, I have a black belt, because a lot of people don't really have bodies that we can develop to physically defend ourselves, but there's so many other mental ways, and then there's carrying accessories to defend yourself. And knowing how to use them, not just like walk around with a taser or something. But yeah, that's true. That also gives you peace of mind as well as money in the bank and food on the table and all that.
Yes.
Okay. One more, yes.
Yes, Luna.
I had one question that I was like,
Yeah.
I was also wondering how people kind of take care of themselves, like spiritually, like whenever they tattoo, like having like ceremony for people to be like, and obviously I'm sure we all know that. Receive sometimes really heavy things or beautiful things. Ceremonies can be like playful or joyful or like really heavy, or as we're opening up this blood portal to like imbue people's skin, And like I have a whole routine kind of surrounding that, but I was also curious if other people did, like how they open and close like ceremony with clients.
First of all, I love it that you call it ceremony, and I'm getting goosebumps. I don't want to cry. So thank you for that and for making it and turning it into something even more fantastic than it already is. And I would love to hear this.
Can you stand up? Thank you so much.
We get a lot of energy from our clients, right? And I feel like I have to be very intentional about letting that energy leave my body at the end of the day. And so if it's like really intense, I'll do like a 4 times. But most of the time at the end of the day, I'll just like visualize energy of water in my body and like let it leave me. And then once it's out of my body, I let go of that tight energy, whether it's good, positive, whatever, not find it ready for the like rest of my life. For that passion. So it's like a little easy distribution.
Yeah. We were just talked about this before, but sort of similar. I think I don't visualize it going through my body, but I usually hop in the shower, especially if it's been like a really intense session with someone, really painful for them or whatever reason, just emotionally intense. Hopping in the shower, and as the water's coming over me, usually I will visualize like the energy that I've taken from that session, kind of shaking it off. And using the shower, I'll like move a lot too. I feel like that's really helpful.
Yes. I love this.
I like to hug my dogs. Yes.
This is in response to your question. I find that sound can be really powerful tool for setting boundaries in between spaces, and I use clapping to initiate or end things. So sometimes after an intense session, I feel like take a breath and like let that sound be the barrier between before and after. And I do that sometimes going into the session as well.
I think this is a really important thing to bring up. I have an incredibly busy life, and I do not always have time to have a whole ritual around letting go of what just occurred. And so I think it's important to think about, even if you're not able to practice it all the time, because inevitably you are going to take that away with you wherever you are. So sometimes what I do when I have no time, which is most of the time, is just to close my eyes and take like time myself for like 2 minutes, just no information. And you can do it anywhere. You don't have to go to a special place. Although sometimes I just go to the bathroom because child. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And I think it's something we should all be thinking about, even if you don't have any practice at all around it. Do we have time to, I would like you, if you're feeling it.
The schedule does say 1:30.
You guys, Leslie has some important things to share. So there you go.
I was a little bit on the fence, like, oh, is this going to be TMI? And my good friends who are sitting on either side of me were like, no, this is important. And it's not something that, you know, I have shame around. I feel like I can really bring down a room, so, you know, because, yeah, exactly. So you all can clap when I'm done. I'll go back and jump in a hot tub or something. 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with an advanced cancer. And for the year leading up to my diagnosis, I went to 3 different medical practitioners, hoping to get a PAP, which is they used to call it an annual, but they only do it like every 5 years now because insurance crunched the numbers and we're like, it's expensive for us to do this every year with all of our people. And it's cheaper to pay $1 million when somebody does get cancer. So I don't know, but that's the reality that we live in. And, you know, once when I went, I was told that the doctor didn't think it was necessary and that they get too many false positives. The second time I went, I was in excruciating pain and I ended up in the emergency room being prepped for an appendectomy. And they were like, oh, your appendix is fine. You know, we don't know, something's weird with you, you know, like it's that sort of like dismissive thing, or maybe your pain's not that bad. And I was like, oh no, it is. And so they, you know, I asked, is there any way you can give me a PAP? And they were like, well, we don't do that in the emergency room, but we can test you for gonorrhea or syphilis. I was just like, yeah, but you kind of get that from unprotected sex from men, and that's not a concern of mine. But they did it anyway. They sent me home with all the antibiotics for it. 2 days later, it's like, oh, you're negative. And then the third time I went to somebody who specialized in gynecology, and they did a transvaginal ultrasound. We're like, yeah, you might have a little bit of thickening in your cervix, but you know, whatever. It was just like this, it was very dismissive. And my mother passed from uterine cancer 30 years ago. Both of her sisters had gynecological cancer, and all three of my father's sisters had gynecological cancer. But I kept hearing, you know, that you know, you can't inherit it. And so finally, when I was, you know, diagnosed, I was pretty mad and I was pretty far along. I now know that if you feel like there's a screening or a test that you probably should get, if they deny you, you can say, well, can you put a notation in my medical chart that I was denied? And then there's from, you know, Black women on Twitter. And, you know, sometimes, well, it used to be an informative place to go. But yeah, you know, so now, like, I am in this place where I'm learning from a lot of other disabled people, because now I'm really disabled. I went through all of the radiation, chemo radiation, internal radiation, and then 6 months later, when I was tested, it was shown that, you know, the cancer had come back already. So the only thing that I could do is sort of this salvage, very radical major surgery where they basically remove everything. And I went through that. And, you know, my chances of surviving that and getting rid of the cancer were like less than 25%. But I was like, well, this is what I got to do. And then in the final pathology, they found that the cancer had spread. So then it was like poor prognosis, and I had maybe a year, and statistically, and there was also a clinical trial that was going on, and my oncologist was able to get me into the arm of the clinical trial. I don't want to get too technical, but there were 4 arms, so just to see what combos of this chemo was the most effective. And it was basically, there was a combination of 2 regular chemos and a new drug that they were combining, and it was, you know, giving people 3.5 more months of life. And so it was like, you know, this decision to make of like, well, do I do, you know, it's like, do I do this major surgery, you know, and maybe even like get less than a 50% chance of surviving it? Now, do I do this chemo for 3.5 more months of life? And I chose to do it, and 7% of us in the clinical trial went into remission. So I'm super lucky. It's just, you know, I just feel like a huge advocate for like getting your HPV vaccinations, and it's eradicated, you know, HPV cancers in countries where it's like just a normal thing to do. It's that almost nobody is getting it, but in other places in the world, like when you get diagnosed with cervical cancer, there's right off the bat, there's a 30% chance that you'll die from it, you know, and it's nothing to take lightly. And also, you know, the rates of colon cancer is actually going up in younger people. And, you know, they're not really sure why, but it's still, nobody wants, most people anyway, don't want to get, you know, a colonoscopy, but, you know, buddy up with one of your friends, because you're going to need to get a ride home and everything, and encourage each other, you know, to like get tested, because the best way to, you know, survive cancer is like the earliest diagnosis that you can get. And as somebody who was self-employed and, you know, just an artist, a tattoo artist for most of my adult life, it was a really rough situation. I was very fortunate at the time to be dating somebody in the tech industry who could put me on their insurance. We went ahead and got gay married, so I could get second opinions in other states because it wasn't federal at that time. But we had to go to the lawyer and get like all this stuff worked out. And So I did have insurance after not having medical insurance for a long time. It's something like if you're wondering if you need medical insurance, you probably just do. It's better to have access to care. I mean, you can still get care if you don't have insurance, but you may not be able to get into those clinical trials, and you may not be able to get in sooner than later and things like that. Surviving was incredible. And, it's been, I had 3.5 years of really aggressive treatment, and this idea of like, live like there's no tomorrow. There were actually really amazing things about it, because I just spent all the money that I had, and I, traveled and stuff. But, and since then, it's just been like trying to, get my life back. And something that really helped me get through like the whole ordeal and help me recover is having community. And I feel really strongly about that. And I'm just thinking about it. I'm just like, I'm going to invite all these people to come to Santa Fe. And like, one of the main things is like, I want people to meet each other. Like, this is so important. Like, we have all this, like, we have the internet. People are, meeting each other on Zoom and stuff. But like, what if we can form, some friendships the old school way, and like start collaborating and networking? Because it's just really important. We're the ones that are going to keep each other healthy and, accountable and safe. Cedar was totally on my team, totally, super helping me out during that whole time. Teresa and, doing Pilates with Teresa has like really, I brought back, I spent a couple years in bed. And if you've ever had a really bad flu, and after a couple of days, just like out of your mind, because you can't do anything. There's folks out there who have, chronic conditions that really can't, do anything. And it's great because, if we include as many people as we can, and that was something that was really important for me with, this event, to be, it's hard to just be like, we're going to include everybody, because you just, you can't do that. But that we can really like learn a lot from each other. I mean, we have all this experience, and we're older than, most of the folks that are coming. But I think that you all are also like incredible survivors, like you're dealing with a lot too. And you found, I mean, there's been so much wealth of knowledge here, and for us to all, share these things instead of like, you learn one thing a month from somebody. It's like, like get together and talk about like, how do we survive this? How do we make our lives really not just like survive, but we're having fun, we're thriving. And oh my God, did I just say all that? Yes. But last night when when it was just sitting in the lounge, and like several big tables were taken up by all of you, people like drawing together and everything, and I was like, yes, like all you have to do is like create space, and like folks they'll make it happen. So I'm really grateful that everyone came. Like it means a lot that like okay, I'm waffling.
Thank you, Leslie. So, that is amazing. Love you so much. Love you. And so one of the things that you mentioned is community. So I teach at a nonprofit. I teach movement for like not a lot of money, but my mission for my movement is to make movement accessible for all the people. This nonprofit does the same thing, but their whole thing is their wellness is all about 4 pillars of health, which are move your body, connect with people, have community, eat well, and what Luna talked about, be like mindfulness, like whatever gives you centered and all this stuff. Those 4 things, move, connect, nourish, be, will always be your 4 pillars to keep you strong and to keep you moving forward. And so like what Leslie says, like being here today, it's like, it's really exciting because like I do a thing with Pilates teachers, and we get together and we like take classes from each other and we do all that stuff. But we also talk about like, what do you say to your people when they do this? What do you do this? So you could be like, how do you make that one line? Like, you know, like just sharing resources, because there's enough people for all of us, right? Don't be all like gatekeeping your shit, holding your gatekeeping your feedback. You're misering, and then you're going to affect you because you want information, but you're not sharing information. There has to be an even flow, right? And so share with each other. You all learn together. It's not like you're going to like take your style. Like no one's going to become like Cedar, right? No one wants to like be like, but maybe there's something that Cedar does. It's great. You know, Leslie's an awesome tattooer as well. Like you all are so great and you have your own styles, but there could be something that could be like, oh, if you wrap your gunny thing like this. I don't even know what it's called. You know, like do it like this and wave it around 3 times and then you know, do the people's. But like there's ways to do things, right? And it's so great. And I took a lift with Maya and Jazz and Who and Ali from the airport yesterday, and I didn't know them. And it was just so fun to like meet these 4 amazing strangers and be in a car with them for an hour. And now I'm like, oh, and I have friends, you know? And so it's like, and I don't even tattoo. So I got to like experience the zhuzh, and just being able to like hang out with you all was so great. I feel like I don't want to become a tattooer, but if I did, I would hang out with y'all.
You can still hang out with us.
I could draw stick people with pen.
I mean, you are hanging out with us, so. Uh-oh. Can someone bring some napkins?
We got it.
The puddle.
Yeah.
We got
All
it.
right, I think we have to wrap up.
Yeah.
Are there any other
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah, yes.
Something that was coming up for me with everybody else sharing, and especially Leslie share, is like, I think as queers and like also as tattooers, that we like ought to dream bigger about what wellness or health looks like. Like it's actually, it makes, I think queers were often pushed into or led to more marginalized industries, like self-employment in creative professions that are like the tattoo industry, which is not unionized at all, like sex work, which is criminalized. And these are places in which we have like a lot of precarity about our health. And we often in the US don't have access to health insurance.
Right.
And like wellness and self-care is community care, and it's also like a avenue to sort of think about organizing towards a more just world, one that has universal healthcare, or even a more just industry, one that has opportunities for instance, subsidized health insurance. And I don't know, that's coming up a lot for me because it's like we talk about it a lot in our shop around our community care and sort of like checking in about our needs and our COVID policies and things like that. And it's a much larger fight that affects us and our communities outside of tattooing. And we shouldn't have to fucking get married to get regular health insurance.
That's real
And
talk
it
right there.
sucks. Yeah, and I'm currently on Medicaid in my state, which is incredibly like the best health insurance I've ever had. But if I work more than I currently do, I'm gonna get kicked off of it. So yeah, totally.
Yeah, this is definitely a conversation that has to continue. So, no, thanks for bringing that up. Anyone else want me to say anything before we have to wrap up? I know there's other things that we'll have to get to. No, all right.
I just want to say,
Okay, obviously these seminars and the panels are sort of like building on each other. And then tomorrow, I'm doing the financial literacy panel, and my cousin is really awesome. There'll be more wellness, correct? Because money is so important, whether or not, whatever your relationship to it is. But my cousin, come with specific questions if you want. My cousin Emily is an admin to a financial advisor who specializes in artists, which is actually kind of unusual. She's gotten her first round of licenses to be a financial advisor. She's also a corporate estate and real estate attorney, and she specializes in artists. She is a, what? No, oh, no, but you know a thing. Right. You can't, well, you're not going to court.
She's still amazing.
Yeah, but she's coming in from a creative herself as a writer who also have very uneven income and, you know, sometimes no income. And she would like to, you know, also focus on artists. So come meet my cousin. She's actually here.
So, yeah, so getting your money stuff, people, is really important. I did just like to advocate to go to this talk tomorrow. If you know where your money is going and how it sits and stuff, you will have more calmness in your life. Like when I finally got out of my own way and did a budget, I was like, holy shit. I had more money than I thought I did, even though I was still working the same amount of hours. And I thought I was broke, and I was like, oh. And then I learned to pay myself once a month. I love the end of the month. Paying myself. And so I get to like pay myself. And it's just really, really nice to be able to know where the money resides. We talk about making it rain, but it's drizzling, people. Like, so really don't be afraid of it. Like, I cried when I started doing my budget. My friend was like, I got you. I had to trust her. I had to let her be the top, right? So let Emily be your money top. All right, let's go.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.